Welcome to Walk in the Park. My name is Tony Ingram, host, and this is episode, was it 186 on January 24th, 2018. If you want to see all of my shows, you can go to my website at walkinthepark.tv, and I have them all there. So there's a lot to see there, and you can search and so forth. This is a public access television series, weekly series in Ithaca, New York. And you can go see the lineup of the different programs, series, and so forth at our website at pegasus.webstarts.com. You can also find out how to be your own producer. This is a community station. This is a resource for the community of Ithaca and the surrounding area for people to come and make their own TV shows. And that's what I've been doing for years. And you can also like our Facebook page at Pegasus TV and see what we're posting there. And if you're a producer, you can produce your own, post your own stuff there. We'll make sure we'll get the word out. Also on the website, there are posting of links to, actually on the page there, you can watch some of our latest shows. So go to our website, see what's going on, and think about being a producer yourself in public access television, Ithaca, New York, a community resource. And it's independent. You can do it, and it's a lot of fun. I've been doing it for a long time. Okay, so Walk in the Park. We're going to go to take a look at one of our local parks here, and here in the Finger Lakes. If you're looking at this online somewhere far away, you don't really know the area that well. Well, I'll give you a little bit of orientation here. This is the Finger Lakes. These are the Finger Lakes spread across central New York, north of the Pennsylvania border. And let's zoom in a little bit. You see the two large lakes in the middle of Seneca where it says Finger Lakes. That's Seneca Lake and Cayuga Lake to the right. At the bottom of Cayuga Lake, there is a community, which is, of course, Ithaca, New York, and several other communities around it. Going a little more closely. So Ithaca is in the valley just south of Cayuga Lake. And we'll back up to that again. You can see it's just south of the valley of Cayuga Lake. And the valley continues south of there for another 20 miles or so. And on the side of that valley, there are steep hills and ravines, gorges that have eroded there since the end of the Ice Age, about 10 or 12,000 years ago. And some of them have become parks, like Buttermilk Falls State Park. I'm not going to show you a picture. Actually, I will show you a picture of Buttermilk Falls. Here's a picture of Buttermilk Falls from the air, about 5 or 6 years ago. So you can see then just the upper left quadrant, you can see the waterfall coming down. So this was in March, taken by Bill Hecht. And I have a lot of images in this show that we may get to that are by Bill. So anyway, we're down here, Buttermilk Falls State Park. And now we're going to look at a park map. This is actually the layout of the park boundaries, the park territory itself, with the trails in it. In the lower left there is an inset that's shown, which we're not going to pay a lot of attention to at this point because we're not going on the gorge trail. But we'll zoom in to part of the map. And this is, well, let me go back to here. You can see where the map constricts in the middle there on the right, just right of center. And there's an upper park and a lower park. So the big mass in the upper half of the map there is the lower park. And then the upper park, the uphill part of the park, is the upper park, the lower part on this map. So we're going to be operating out of the upper park, or else actually out of that juncture. So you see on the lower right there, you see it says GT. That means Gorge Trail. And the Gorge Trail is closed right now because of the ice, and we'll take a look at that in a minute. And then there is a gray line. That is a road called West King Road. And below that is a red line. And actually, it's an orange line, or red or orange, I don't know. And that's called the Bear Trail. We'll be going on the Bear Trail. And then to the right of that, you see a symbol that means, maybe you can see it on your screen, it means there's actually a shelter there, there's a picnic area, and then there's another road, which is a park road. And we might see a little bit of that. So anyway, we're going to start off, we're going to go to the north side, not the north, yeah, it is the north side, the upper side of the road. It says Gorge Trail, GT, then RT is the Rim Trail. And we're going to walk along a part of that and take a look at what's going on along there. Now, a lot of people think that the trails in the parks are closed. The parks are all closed up for the winter, and they're not. They're not. The parks are open year-round, but some of the trails are closed for safety. For instance, this is the Rim Trail that we were looking at here, which says RT. This is the Rim Trail. And that was, I don't know, yesterday? Yeah, that was yesterday. And you can see it's a little icy. So they have a sign on there that says, this trail is open for winter hiking. Be advised that icy conditions may be present. The use of ice-appropriate footwear, trekking poles, and cold weather gear are strongly recommended. So it does get icy in there because people pack it down. And I went out on a walk there. And I didn't go real far because on the level there on that icy packed down stuff, it was okay, I can maneuver. But when it started to get a slope, then I got like, I don't think I want to pick my way through that. I've done it in icy conditions before, and it's kind of dicey, icy dicey. So, and here's actually looking into some steps that are in the gorge. This is looking off the rim into a gorge. I'm going to use this as a transition picture because I walked to an overlook. That along the rim trail, looking down to the gorge itself and what was going on. And yesterday and the day before, or night before, I guess, there was a lot of rain and the temperatures were up and there was a thaw going on. So we got some high water there. Not as high as I've seen at other times, but definitely high enough to be impressive. So let's go take a look at that. I'm going to show you some footage from that overlook and looking actually at these stairs. So let's bring that up, cue up that video, and it'll be right here in a second here, coming right up. Okay. So on Tuesday, January 23rd, we had a thaw, second major thaw of the month, I guess. And so I'm standing on the rim at an overlook in Buttermilk Falls State Park, looking down into the gorge, looking at the high water. Not the highest you'll get, but certainly plenty high and dramatic. And this is in the area around Pinnacle Rock, which is near the upper park. You can walk. It's the first major geologic formation you run into when you walk down the gorge trail, which of course is closed because of the ice and rockfall danger and so forth. In fact, we'll see some images. Well, we'll zoom in here and we'll take a look at the trail, which is icy, very icy, and in fact you can see there's a lot of footprints on it. Particularly dangerous in this kind of weather because if you slip and fall into that torrent, you are history, as has happened to people in the past. So stay out of the gorge, look at it from the rim. Okay, so the rim trail is a little icy, and the gorge trail is very icy and very dicey. You don't want to slip on that, and because obviously you can get hurt slipping on the ice, but if you slip into the stream when it's like that particularly, you may not survive, as has happened. As I said, well, once again, this is Walk in the Park, walkinthepark.tv to see all of my shows, public access series, public access television in Ithaca, New York. So, okay, we're going to continue. We're going to continue in Buttermilk Falls State Park, and here's our map again, showing the park map on the right there. Ignore that inset on the lower left, and we're going to go to the upper park now. It was the same area that we were in before. Now what we were looking at before is the upper part of the picture where West King Road crosses the park, and the rim trail and the gorge trail are at the top of the picture. We're going to take what it says BT, and if we could see the legend, that would say Bear Trail. So we're going to go on the Bear Trail, but we'll go to the parking area there, the picnic area and the parking area first, and then we're going to walk down the Bear Trail, down the picture here, down the map, to the other end, and you can see that it joins the park road down there, and we'll start back from there. But this is basically what we're going to do. And so it's a winter walk on the Bear Trail, and so let's take a look at that. I'm going to bring up another video. This one's a little bit longer. It's about 10 minutes, but let's go on the Bear Trail like these folks are doing here. This is actually from the southern end of it here, and let's bring that up. You know, a lot of people think that the trails in the state parks are closed, that the state parks are closed down, but actually they're not. It's just some of the trails that are dangerous in the gorges and along cliffs and so forth that get really icy or maybe have ice hanging over them or loose rock. But a number of the trails are open, or portions of trails are open. Like here I'm in Upper Buttermilk, and we're going to walk over to the Bear Trail on the other side of the creek there. Hey, this used to be a swimming area there years ago, back in the 80s. I remember that. We're looking back. We're in the picnic area, the Scott's Dam picnic area. We're leaving that. That's the first picnic area when you drive into the Upper Park. So you walk out to the road, to the West King Road it's called here, coming up here, and then we're going to cross the bridge. This bridge always makes me nervous because there's pedestrians that come across it on the trails, and the gorge trail is on the other end of the bridge here to the right, but of course that's closed. And then the Bear Trail leads to the left, as we'll see momentarily. We get a little peek over the wall of the bridge here, but to Buttermilk Creek, the upper end of Buttermilk Creek. And but this section of this bridge is so narrow there's hardly any shoulder, and it feels like falling down. But I haven't heard of anybody getting hurt there actually, but it's always a little tricky. So we're going to turn left here and go into the woods, into the Bear Trail. So Bear Trail, oh my gosh, are there bears on this trail? Well, not really. I have never seen a bear on this trail, and I live near here and walked it countless times. But once there was a bear seen along here, and every once in a while a bear does come around the neighborhood here, a wandering, probably young male that's being driven out of its territory by its mother. And they'll come through looking for bird feeders and that sort of thing. And like the bird feeder that a neighbor in the area had messed by the bear. Yeah, here you can see down in here, down the creek again. We're rising up above it. So anyway, they like to come through and particularly hit bird feeders and other things, garbage cans. I've had them around my house, but only every couple of years or so. And like I say, I've never actually seen one myself in all the many years that I have worked in this park and lived near it. So we're going along here. There's the safety fence above the gorge, and now entering the woods. Now this trail actually is a very fine wildflower trail. It's one of the finest wildflower trails in the park region. And so you come back in May, basically the first half of May, and you will see a lot of wildflowers along here. And in fact, years ago, when I worked for the parks, I used to, every Mother's Day, I would lead a Mother's Day wildflower walk, and they were very popular. They were very popular. You know, it's kind of odd, the gorge from the West King Road bridge down is a gorge, a rugged gorge, steep, goes down to the valley, and then we have this section up here, which is not a gorge, although there's some other rugged sections upstream. And actually, this is the where the stream is here is following a course of a much older valley that has been filled in by the glaciers, and so maybe there was a gorge here a long time ago, but not now. And then the stream was forced to take a different course by the ice during the Ice Age, and that's what cut through new rock and created our gorges. And also we're sort of at the brink of the hill. Well, we're going up the hill here, but this is just on the side of the valley of the creek. This is not a gorge. In fact, this is mostly earth we're climbing up here that was probably left behind by the glaciers. And in any case, the valley sort of levels off before it plunges to the Cayuga Valley. So that's why it's not so steep here. But there are some sections where it diverted. We won't see it on this walk, but there's some other sections in the upper park here where the stream was diverted through new land and cut through rock since the last Ice Age. Oh, we're going down some steps here. These steps were made just this past season, this past year. There's a trails crew. The Finger Lake State Parks has a trails crew, and they made a really nice set of steps. They've built a lot of steps around. They still work on it. Looking back at it here, these are the steps that came back. If you've been on this trail before, you remember it as a very rough, eroded, rooty, rocky, difficult route. And then there's also a little bridge over a wet spot here. There's not quite a stream, but a spring up on the right that in the summer has a lot of skunk cabbage in it. But this was a really wet, muddy spot, and so they built a little walkway over that.
and that's very nice. And now we go along the bottom of the slope here, the beautiful hemlock woods here. We hope they survive the hemlock woolly adelgid, the insect that's killing our hemlock trees. Hope we can save them. But in any case, it's beautiful through these evergreens along the streams. It's such a lovely trail. The Bear Trail is one of my favorite trails here. So we'll see what happens up here. Oh, we're going to look down at the creek. You can see it's pretty choked with ice. But yeah, so see how gentle the creek is here. And it's not cutting through rock. It's mostly just cutting through well, what's called glacial till. So this whole area was there may have been a gorge here a long time ago, and probably was. Oh, some folks coming by with their dog. A long time ago, but that's what's filled in by the passage of the last glacier, and then the stream reestablished itself on top of the glacial till. Here's another little bridge that was built this past year over another little drainage coming down the hill, heading towards the creek. Yeah, so they've done a lot of trail improvement here. It's great. I had my trekking poles that I recently got. Oh, here comes up another bridge. Oh, this was a nice long one. I took some pictures of this last fall, so that's what we'll be showing here in a moment. But in any case, it was good to have my trekking poles because there were some slippery spots, and I recommend that this time of year. You get out, there are some slippery spots, and you can fall. You can trip and fall, you can slip, and hopefully you don't get hurt. So there's the little boardwalk that they put over a very wet area this past season. So we continue along here. This whole area here is rich in wildflowers, particularly violets, and there's also a lot of birds in here. I hear warblers and other things in here. It's a very beautiful little cove of woods, and rich in wildflowers and rich in birds. Another pier into Buttermilk Creek from the eroding bank. They had to reroute the trail here a little bit away from the eroding bank of the stream. The stream moves around and slowly erodes its bank. So now we're here along again the base of the hill through this hemlock forest, and we come up to the last little rise on the Bear Trail. And I don't know, the Bear Trail is maybe half a mile long or so, maybe a little bit longer than that. And this reminds me of the first time I ever led a guided tour. It was actually a ski tour, an interpretive ski tour in the parks back in 1979, the winter of '79. It was on this trail, a ski tour, and I identified a lot of trees and that sort of thing. And so this was my first interpretive program in the parks, was on this trail. So winter 1979, so gee whiz, that was a long time ago. So here we come out to the end of the Bear Trail, and just ahead is the picnic area, the Lake Treeman picnic area, and beyond that is the little Lake Treeman, which is mostly filled in now. And we'll take a look back at the sign here at the southern end of the Bear Trail. Some folks coming by. Heading out on it. Did a little loop, and that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go back across the stream on this little footbridge that I'm sure many of you know. And this is what they call the Fordway, where people can drive their cars in to get to the picnic area. You can see my silhouette now. My shadow, I should say. This was a little tricky going across this icy bridge. I was glad I had my poles for balance, because I wouldn't want to slip and fall off there. I could get hurt. Say nothing of getting wet, which would be the lesser problem. So there I am, projected on the snow with extra fat legs. Walking the Bear Trail. So you can do it. And there's other trails too. You can walk the Larch Meadows Trail around the Larch Meadows in the lower park. You can walk the Rim Trail along the gorge, and you can walk part of the Lake Treeman Trail. So actually most of the trails in the park are open.
Okay, so the Bear Trail. So there are trails in the parks you can go on. For instance, at Taughannock Falls, I think most of the trails are open. The staircases going up from the gorge parking lot are probably closed. Those are kind of hazardous, but sections of the rim trails probably you can go on, and then certainly the gorge trail is usually open unless it just gets too icy or there is a landslide or something happens. So again, at Treman, you can walk to in the upper park, you can walk to the Lucifer Falls overlook, which we featured a couple of weeks ago in our show. And of course, the Finger Lakes Trail goes the length of the park. So once again, this is Walk in the Park, walkinthepark.tv to see all of our shows. Walk in the Park is my weekly public access television series on Channel 13 in Ithaca, New York, cable TV. And go take a look at the shows, and also go to our website for, let's see, go back to that. Go back to our website, pegasus.webstarts.com, and learn a lot more about public access television in Ithaca, New York. It's produced by local residents, and it's a lot of fun. You can do it. You can be your own voice, your own story. So we're going to go take a look now at a park I had never been to. And here we go up in the air again. We're looking at Ithaca just left of center, and then there is a pin on this Google Earth map that says Campbell Meadows Park, and in the town of Dryden. We'll zoom in on that. And if you know the area, this is Route 13 heading northeast and near Lower Creek Road. And we'll zoom in a little closer, and you go along Lower Creek Road. And anyway, in the neighborhood there is Campbell Meadows Park. It's not a very big park. It's pretty much what you see within the picture, the middle of the picture there. Here's a map of it. Now, this map I got off of a website called ithacatrails.org. In fact, that's how I found out about the park. I never knew it existed. And it's a little tiny town of Dryden Park, and here's a little trail map online. So go to ithacatrails.org. There are lots and lots of little trails, little parks, and so forth that you may not know about. And there are different places to walk. And so this one, Campbell Meadows Park, what does that sign says? It says Beth and Gordon Campbell Natural Area. This Dryden Town Park is made possible by Beth and Gordon Campbell and family, conserved with assistance of the Finger Lakes Land Trust. They are everywhere helping us preserve land. So it's a small park with nice mowed paths right along the banks of Upper Fall Creek. So Fall Creek is the largest tributary of Cayuga Lake. And so here it is out in the town of Dryden, and you can walk around these paths around here. There's a couple of pieces of rickety furniture somebody put out there. The chair over there in the center in the back is over by the water. I do not recommend sitting in that chair. It's about ready to collapse. So I hope nobody gets hurt on that. But anyway, that's kind of a nice little park. So you may want to check that out. Campbell Meadows Park in the town of Dryden along Lower Creek Road. Not that far from the Hanshaw Road and the Laboratory of Ornithology and those kinds of places. So we'll go back to our image here of Buttermilk Falls, just making a transition here. But actually, we're going to go to take a little trip to Taughannock Falls. We still have a couple of minutes left. Going now, this is looking south along the west shore of Cayuga Lake at the very back. In the upper back there, that's where Ithaca is. So we're looking not the way you see it from Ithaca, but the other way. And that point of land sticking out there, that is Taughannock Falls State Park. That is Taughannock Point, where the picnic areas are, the swimming areas, the concerts, and so forth. Now we're going to fly around. These pictures, by the way, these aerials, actually much of the pictures I'm going to show you now, are by Bill Hecht, who is a local photographer and a friend of mine who shares his work. And so he does a lot of aerial photography. And so we're going to fly around this time of year, except another year, looking at Taughannock Point. But you can pretty much see the whole gorge left of the point coming from the very left edge of the picture right through the point there, right through the middle of the picture to the point, and then flying around on a different day looking at Taughannock Falls. Now, you may be able to make out on the right, just right center, extreme right part of the picture, there is a parking area, which has actually been modernized since then with a little visitor center and so forth, which you ought to check out if you haven't seen. Although it's not open this time of year, it's a nice area to visit anyway. That's where most of us see the falls, and it's the best view, well, one of the best views. You can see a couple of other good views from the trails. But that's where the falls overlook is. But on the other side, next to the falls. You can see the falls in the back there. On the other side, there once was this overlook, and this is one of the overlooks. And this is looking from the south side of the gorge. In fact, here is a picture. Point Lookout on the south side. Now that may not actually have been Point Lookout, because there were a couple of points there. Like here is a point, a staircase going up to a little overlook over the falls, right next to the falls. And here is a view of the falls. I'm not sure if this is from that spot or another, because there was a hotel there back in the woods. The foundation is still there, and it was called the Cataract House. And it was a popular place until early part of the last century. Here is a big gathering there. I think it was a reunion, big reunion of a regiment, 126th Regiment or something like that. I saw on the label years ago from the Cataract House. So let's go. But look at this. Now we're in the gorge near the top of the falls, and we'll zoom in on the right there. There's a structure there. And just the lower center, you might be able to make out there's a little railing, and that's maybe where one of those pictures were taken. Here's a guy. Oh, now you can see another structure, another observation point. So there are a number of different observation points on the south side back then. And here's a guy in the middle of the stream, which you're not supposed to do today. It's too dangerous. You can get washed over. People fall over. They get very nervous. And here is a dude standing right on the lip of the falls. Machismo is a universal thing, and here now looking from the brim of the falls into the gorge, and from also the side of the falls down. You can see the creek down there, and then looking right down into the falls. You know, this is the view that we're most. Well, I ought to go back to that. I don't want you to not see that, but this is the view. This is the view that most of us see today, but obviously back in the 1800s. From about the Civil War until the early 1920s, there was a hotel on the other side, which we have featured in other shows. So, well, that's pretty much it. This is a view that you had from the bottom back then, too. And you notice that the lip of the falls was projecting. And that's another whole story. But we're running out of time here, so I'm going to have to sign off here. But I thank you very much for joining me. And I'll just cue up our last video here, which is the goodbye video. So stand with me here, and we'll see you again soon. Turn off this screen and go outside and go for a walk in the park.